Welcome to Business Success Tips, where you learn to make more money in less time and have a lot more fun. I'm your host, Paul Sanneman. I'm the founder of Contractor Staffing Source, where we help contractors build great teams. I have Jen Castenson from Buildxact as my guest this morning, and she's going to tell you why Buildxact is so cool, right? So Jen, tell me about yourself and tell me a little about Buildxact.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me, Paul, and thank you for your efforts in the industry. It's really exciting, and one of the biggest things that I know we're faced with is a labor shortage. So what you're doing is much appreciated and respected. So thanks again for having me. I'm Jen Castenson with Buildxact, and Buildxact is a construction project management software. And we are cloud-based, and we are very, very comprehensive. We speak to custom home builders and design remodelers to take them and their customers and their suppliers from pre-design all the way to final invoice on a project. So we have a CRM component, we do takeoffs, estimates, the scheduling, the profit tracking, the cost tracking. And then, like I said, the project involves a lot of different stakeholders. So Buildxact is pretty unique in the fact that it's pulling in all those people through the multiple touch points that they have within the project. So we are from Australia, but coming into the US, and we have a big following now.
That's great. So, do you integrate with QuickBooks on the accounting? How do you do the accounting side of things?
We do. We integrate with QuickBooks online. Yep.
And do you track by the project versus, like they can, I guess the question for project management, everybody wants to know, am I making or losing money on this project on hopefully a weekly or basis? Like that's the big question, right?
It's a huge question. And so part of the thing that I was talking about before that makes Buildxact pretty unique is that we bring in the dealer. So let's say you're working with a Do It Best member, Do It Best in your local area. They can connect via an API to their price list or upload their price list on a daily, weekly basis, however they want to do it, so that when a contractor is doing a quote or doing an estimate, they're connected to that dealer's product listing, all of the SKUs, the most accurate pricing, which helps them get through and make sure that they are accurate. And then they're also tracking those costs very carefully and making sure that they have profit. But the software does that too. So you can see all of everything that's coming and going, what's accepted, what hasn't been paid for, all aspects of that. So it's tracking the costs.
Good question. I certainly include like Lowe's and Home Depot, maybe your local tile shop. How do you get your suppliers hooked up to your software? Or
yeah, sure. So they can connect, and there's so many different benefits to them. So when a builder is doing a takeoff or an estimate, when they start a project, then they start into that life cycle, right? The project life cycle. A lot of times they'll go to the dealer and say, do this takeoff for me. But in our software, they can self-serve, meaning they can do it 24/7. And if they have the access to that price list, then it's automated, and then they don't have to wait for the dealer and have the 6 emails or calls back and forth. And we did some research with the Farnsworth Group a couple years ago with the dealers in the builders. And that is part of the biggest frustration, is that lack of a sync and that time lapse that goes by, because also part of research is that the homeowner chooses so many times just because somebody gets back to them first, that's who they're selecting. So that time waste, any time waste, is super, super valuable. I
guess the question is, but what about, let's say I buy myself at Home Depot's, I might buy at Lowe's, I might buy at ABC Tile Store. I've got these various dealers. Is there a way of making sure that my dealers are in your software? Can I add them to your software? How's it? How do I get my dealers involved with what you do?
Yeah, so as a contractor, you can ask them to quote on our system. So you do a request for quote and they can get back to you through Buildxact. So, and, you know, we look at that information and we're going to them and saying, you know, the builders or the contractors, the more frequent they get these requests, then obviously, the more pressure they have to be added to. So it's kind of like the flywheel, the network effect. The more builders are asking that dealer to get on, the dealer will come back and they add value to each other as they're interacting on the platform.
Like say Home Depot's a common supply nice. You have all the SKUs of Home Depot in there?
No, just the ones that are specific to a contractor. So, you know, and we have data dashboards to look at what's successful. So going with your example of Home Depot, if they have, you know, their sales reps and the sales reps are putting out quotes or estimates, then we can go in or they can go into their data dashboard and say, hey, this is how many we're winning. This is how many, you know, why, and they can kind of dissect it and say, why are they winning some of them? Why are they not winning some of them? And then they can look at exactly what are the SKUs that are part of the estimates that are being sold. And they can look at, you know, what is prolific and what should they hang on to and what can they get rid of? And that helps them do forecasting, inventory planning, all of that on a geographic basis and beyond.
Now, does it also include, I know since the pandemic, time to delivery is important. So let's say I've got Pella and I don't know, Marvin, a couple of window suppliers, right? And I'm building, I don't know, 2 custom homes, just pick a number. And I don't know whether to use Marvin or, you know, Pella Windows, who's going to be here sooner, who's going to be later. Is there any way of knowing like time to delivery besides cost? Is that in there anywhere?
We want to have that integrated. Right now, we're integrating with the ERP system with the dealer, and some of their ERPs are advanced enough that they've got some of the delivery information, but it's not really feeding into Buildxact, but it's something that we're looking at in terms of a partner integration.
Like at least I don't know how much it costs, right?
Yes.
Okay, well, that's good. So there's an integration with suppliers, and if you have a particular window supplier or door supplier or cabinet supplier you want to have in there, you can figure out a way to add them into the system, right?
Yes, and so that's what that's part of also that the research uncovered is that for our average project, you know, the contractor is going through 4 different suppliers on average. You know, some of them, like a luxury custom home, you're going to have 30, but
right.
You know, some on an average project, you're probably trying to minimize that so you can be more effective and be, you know, maximize your profit to going through kind of trying to be more efficient with your suppliers. So on 4 was the average that we saw.
It's interesting. So they have to be like a Home Depot. Somebody supplies everything to do that, right? They have to be big suppliers to make that work, I assume.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's something sort of unique to your software that a lot of the other softwares are not doing, right? They're not integrating.
That's right.
Okay. Now, with your software, how about the invoicing? I mean, if I look at where other softwares break down, one is to dealers. Secondly, I mean, some people use Bluebeam and other kinds of way for, you know, looking at the plans. What do you use to do the takeoffs?
Yeah, so it is part of our platform. So you can upload any sort of document, a sketch on a napkin, as long as you can scale it. And when you upload it, and then you can do the takeoff from that. So it is really, really comprehensive, and it is our own proprietary.
So it sort of does what Bluebeam does, right? If you know what Bluebeam does, right? It's the same
I don't know well enough to say that, but you can actually, like, if you're looking at building a home, for instance, and you've got the takeoff, then you can do the siding and just with 2 clicks, go around the house to each window and subtract those from the siding estimate.
So it'll actually, if you give it a complete set of plans, it'll do the takeoff for all the stuff, right?
You do the takeoff.
You do the takeoff.
Yep. You upload the plans and then you do the takeoff. You scale it, and then you do the takeoff within there.
So how does that take? You decide what windows you want to use, what, doors, that kind of stuff. Is that
That's right. So when you start doing your estimate, then you get in and you can if you can base it off of the supplier that you're with, then you can create recipes and assemblies as well to make the process go a lot faster. So if you have like a template house that you build or a template kitchen project that you do as a remodel, then you can have that already populated within Buildxact, and just, it's kind of like a cut and paste where it becomes super efficient. And then your dealers can create those recipes and assemblies for you. So just like you were saying before, if you work with somebody who's just doing cabinets, they can have, a 5x10 cabinet or 5x10 kitchen ready for you, where you can just use that, grab it, put it into your estimate and send it off. So they can build those for you, and then it just makes it that much more efficient and easier.
So it makes estimating a lot faster, right, in theory?
Absolutely. Yeah. So we say, and this is based off of what our customers tell us and show us, is that it's 80% time savings.
That's great. And then what about your CRM for tracking the client and all the interactions with the client? And I guess the big question is, how mobile friendly is it?
Well, I'm going to answer that to the two questions. So the homeowner can get on the platform and you can communicate with them right there. You can upload documents for them. You can upload spec sheets. You can do all of those things where
they can sign off approvals, right? And all that stuff, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So then with the mobile app, it's an evolving process. The takeoff isn't so easy on the app. So, but the rest of the communications and things that you're pointing out, those are definitely highlights that you can get into and when you're on the job site and use it very effectively.
So for example, the client can approve all the change orders on their phone, right?
The change orders, yep.
And approve like this. And so the client can really use their phone to approve change orders, to see what's happening as a major communication between them and the contractor, right?
So when you say client, you're saying the homeowner. So the homeowner, right. Yeah. So the homeowner can communicate with the contractor on the platform, both using the mobile app. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think that's really important because a lot of people use their phones, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
To do everything, right?
Yes, exactly.
So, so you would say your major advantage over the other people out there on, web-based management software is your ability to do the estimates, to have the dealers involved, that's what you do that's sort of unique to your system versus some of the other people out there that do the same kind of thing, right?
Yeah, I would say that we have built a system and a process that helps those small business owners manage their business from one place. So, and it brings in all the stakeholders to the platform. So there's not the risk of the inaccuracies that happen or the time waste that happens in between. So everybody on the platform together is huge.
So how long have you been doing this in Australia?
I think it was 14 years.
Wow, that's a long time. And you, I assume, own a major part of the Australian market in and web-based software for project management.
Yes. So, and we're working with, we have some great partners there, and who are really dialed into offering this as a solution to their customers. So like Bunnings and a Mitre 10. Mitre 10 we're working with, and they're launching store by store to bring their builders on the platform. And when they do that, they see the sales per customer go up. We've seen it 60%. So
obviously the dealers are interested in getting people to use. So it's sort of like a dealer-friendly platform, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So why did you come to the United States?
Because there's a need for it. There's a huge need for it. So, I mean, it's just, and we're really, really, really focused on these small business owners. And we hear these stories, and that's the builders who are on the job site all day, and then they get home and they spend the rest of the evening doing takeoffs and estimates. And so so many of them get onto Buildxact and they're just like, thank you for giving me my life back, because they're able to create those efficiencies and be way more productive than they were in the past, whether they're moving from a competitor or from Excel spreadsheets.
Okay. So, and how is Buildxact priced with, the other web, project management software in the industry? I'm sure there's Buildertrend, there's JobTrend, there's a bunch of, other people in the industry.
Sure.
Where does the pricing fit into that model of industry standards?
Sure, we've got 3 tiers of pricing, and we fit right in between JobTrend and Buildertrend. So
Okay.
Buildertrend is at the high end, and we're in between.
Okay, cool. Okay, so if people, Jen, if people want to get in touch with you, either to start this anew or are interested in how it could, maybe changing what they've got, how should they get in touch with you guys?
Yeah, so buildxact.com, do a demo or a trial. We do either one. There's a 14-day trial that you can jump right into. And we also have a lot of partners that we're working with. So there are different ways to get exposure and make sure you're getting value through the full project lifecycle, and also to get discounts. So through one of our partners, are going to buildxact.com and signing up for that trial.
Okay, cool. Well, thanks, Jen. Well, I think this is probably solving a big problem in the industry, because a lot of, I don't think a lot of people are really good at bringing all the dealers together with all the contractors and having a common, platform they can use together, which just sounds really great.
Yeah.
So I really appreciate your time, Jen. Thanks a lot. This is a great idea.
Thank you. Thanks, Paul.